Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name's David, and this is a Magic Review. What was in that little black box? What was in that little black box? That was the Mindscale from Illuminati Magic. What is a Mindscale? It's another scale. It's a scale that will enable you to weigh a deck of cards and then know exactly which card is cut to, along with a ton of other stuff, right? There's a ton of other stuff that it can do, but that's it in a nutshell, right? And we've seen some of these scales out on the market before, but the Mindscale is different. It boasts a lot of really cool features, and I want to let you know all about it. But first, if you pay $500 to the Illuminati, what are you going to get? Well, the first thing you're going to get is that black box I showed you earlier, right? So everything comes contained in this magnet enclosure box. On the very top, you'll get a business card that'll have your download code. The download is broken up into a bunch of different YouTube videos. We'll talk about that. But then this right here, that is your deck shell. That means your deck shell is of a Phoenix back playing cards. So you're not getting any cards with this. You're just getting the deck shell, and that's to hide the scale. The scale itself looks like this. There's really no harm in showing it to you. It's all over their own page, as well as there's lots of other scales that are out there in the market. We pretty much know what they look like. USB, right? USB with power, and you'll get a USB cable, of course. This is the bottom, this is the base. This is the part that has to sit down, and then the pressure comes from above. And so this tiny scale is powerful enough to know the difference between 52 cards and 51 cards. So is it what I thought? It's absolutely what I thought, only because I was introduced to a device very similar to this, almost identical to this from another company, and I got that introduction first. And so seeing this second, then yes, I knew what it was. But it is well made. Everything looks like it should. It's just as robust as the previous, and so yeah, it's well made. As far as the video goes, there's a couple of things. So Illuminati, if you ever go out to their website, they have all their tutorials public, which means if you ever wanted to purchase any of their products, you could go and scan through their tutorials. They're right there. They're not password protected at all, and you will not get a password protected tutorial here either. So if you wanted to, you could go watch all the tutorials and you can see exactly what this does before you purchase. The other option is you can go to the actual product page. So if you go to the product page, there's another video there. So there's actually a 30-minute deep dive, is what they call it. You could watch that 30-minute deep dive, and it would tell you everything about this scale, way more than what I'm going to tell you. So if after watching this, you feel like, oh, I'm curious, I'd like to know a little bit more, I would advise you to go watch the deep dive that's on the product page. That should cover everything for you. But if you go to their tutorial page, Nathan Buzza is in like an office type setting, and he'll do picture-in-picture. So he's off to the one side, he'll have the product and the app, right? Because you need an app for this, off to the other side. The cool thing about Illuminati is they have an app. And when you download their app, you can select which device you have of theirs, because all the Illuminati products work together. And so the Illuminati app is very robust. It has lots of features, more features than I've seen with any other app. And so this app really has a lot. And so I want to tell you about the tutorials and what they're going to teach you. First off, they start with a 3-minute unboxing. And then there's an 8-minute video that talks about all the different buttons and how you operate it. There's 2 minutes spent on pairing the device with your phone, and then 7 minutes on how to set it all up and get it to your specifications. There's about 9 minutes where they talk about different objects and containers. So this scale will take containers. You could put a bowl on top of it and fill the bowl with items, okay? This includes a same and a varied weight mode. So let's say your bowl was filled with M&Ms. Well, all those M&Ms are the same weight. right? But let's say you wanted to put different things in the bowl, like you want to put a wallet in there, a phone, keys, a box of crayons. You could weigh each one of those things individually, turn your back, and then the spectator could remove one object and you would know which one. Then they're going to spend about 20 minutes on cards. They'll talk about changes in the deck, such as any cards that are added or removed. They'll talk about how to count cards off from a drawn deck. They'll talk about the value of drawn cards. That means if you cut the deck, it can sum up all the values, and it can sum up all the values of what's in the hand of the participant. This will also identify the bottom card in the participant's hand, right? So if they cut the stack off, they'll know what card is underneath, what card they cut to. This will also recognize the top card remaining in the stack. So they could cut the deck. Sure, you know what they cut to, but this will also tell you what the top card is remaining on the deck. This will also count off clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds that are held by the participant. Then they're going to spend 9 minutes talking about billet mode. The Mindscale can accommodate the registration of up to 100 billets. They'll spend 9 minutes talking about same weight mode, where all the objects weigh the same, and 9 minutes talking about varied weight mode, where all the objects weigh different. They'll give you 7 minutes of training with pen sense, which is another one of their tricks. They'll do 3 minutes on the colored ball mode, where you have one black ball and a whole bunch of whites, and you'll know which way the black ball goes. There's about 15 minutes in their image editor. So this is where you can create a prediction image, and it'll appear as if you're holding the card selected by the spectator. So it adds a little personalization to the touch. So you're going to upload a picture of yourself holding a blank card, and then through image editor, whatever card they cut to, that card will appear in your hands. Then they're going to do 11 minutes talking about how you could pair and do the reveal with a spectator's phone. And then there's another 13 minutes where they talk about pairing it with inject. Plus, this has a whole bunch of deck stacks built into it already, more than I've seen with any other product. So, of course, you can add and edit your own, but pre-programmed into the device, there's several, right? Including Aronson, Redford, New Deck Order. There's a whole bunch there. Pocket space, it's only the size of a deck of cards, right? We saw that. And angles-wise and inspectability-wise, there shouldn't be anything to do that with, because you should never have heat drawn on the scale, right? We should never be inspecting the scale. As soon as they pick up that box, they're going to know it's a plastic box, it's not real. They'll probably pick it up and leave the scale there. Then, what's that? So yeah, we never want to have any heat on the box or the scale itself. But as far as setup and reset goes, as you can see, because it's an electronic device, there's a considerable amount of time getting ready, right? So whichever deck you're going to use, and you're going to use at least one, right? That's the one you want to weigh. So you can't change it out with multiple decks. Every deck's going to weigh a little bit different, and you don't want your weight to ever be off. And so you want to make sure that when you start, you're using clean hands, you're using a smooth, hard surface, you weigh the cards that you're going to use going forward, and then you keep that in there. Of course, you can always move around in the settings depending on what type of trick you're doing. If you're selecting a different trick, then of course you could use a different weight, a different weighted object. But if you're doing card tricks, you want to make sure you're using the same deck that you weighed at the beginning. So positives, it's another great scale, right? It's another great scale that's out there. It's certainly nice to have alternatives when you're thinking about which type of scale you want to buy. The other cool thing about this scale is that Illuminati has extra items that you can purchase. So they have a bowl. So you can buy a bowl from Illuminati. It's a shelled plastic bowl that when you turn it over, the scale can click into the bottom of the bowl. And then you can actually put a cover over that so it completely disguises the scale. That way, you could just bring a bowl out. The bowl doesn't sit on the scale, it's just a bowl. And the bowl becomes something that weighs and measures. So that's pretty cool. The other thing Illuminati offers is a card mat. So you shouldn't have the scale on top of a card mat. The scale should be on a hard surface, unless you have their close-up mat. Their close-up mat is already raised up about the same height as the scale itself. You'll click the scale underneath the mat, and then it looks like you're just using a mat. You don't need anything else. And then whatever you place on the scale, on the mat, registers. And so you'll never have any heat drawn to that. But both of those things are extra purchases. You'd have to extra purchase the bowl, extra purchase the mat, right? But those are both available from Illuminati as well. Negatives. All right, so what are the negatives? I think the first negative is this is about $100 more than other scales that are on the market, right? So you definitely have to want this one and want its features to pay the extra $100. I think the second negative is that it comes with a Phoenix deck shell. For me, I don't own any Phoenix brand cards. I don't own any. So I have no Phoenix Decks cards. So I would have to go out and buy a Phoenix deck cards to use this with, or use a shell from another deck of cards, or make my own shell. It would have been nice if they had included a Phoenix deck for you. The only other thing is it's not a real working tuck case, right? So however you do your tricks, you're going to have that shell case out and an unboxed deck. You wouldn't bring out another box and open that and say, well, let's not use this box, let's use this box, right? So you have to start from a position where the cards are already out on the table, outside of the box, and somehow allude to the fact that, yes, those cards came out of that box, even though they didn't, right? Of course. And like I said, if this seemed interesting to you, if you were drawn in by this, or you think, oh, I might want to learn more about this, let me remind you, they have a 30-minute deep dive on their product page. You should definitely watch that. That's going to cover way more than what I cover, and they'll give you all the ins and outs. But big, huge thanks to Illuminati for allowing me to have this so I could do the review for you. That's where you want to go if you want to purchase the Mindscale. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.